2010 TUC conference, this year being held in Manchester.
TUC conference is always one where people can get together and show their unity and the strength of feeling that ordinary working people see against either the government or what's going on at the moment. And I think this is where people sort of get a bit more gusto, get more involved and see that coming together can actually produce things.
CWU has a full delegation. Day one is going to be dominated by a large debate with all unions joining together to campaign against public sector cuts from the coalition government. After that, the union's got a motion on privatisation of Royal Mail, seeking support from other TUC unions. And we've got a big motion on the High Pay Commission, calling on a commission into high pay in the private sector. On top of that, the union's going to be involved in debates as diverse as equality issues, Trident, and even the 2018 World Cup bid.
The late Paul Foot, the campaigning journalist, once said, "It seems in this country the slogan is to make the poor work harder, you pay them less, and to make the rich work harder, you pay them more." It certainly feels like that in the world in which we live.
The government's developing a commission, but it's only looking at the public sector. We wanted to look at the private sector as well. I mean, for example, Adam Crozier was on 2.5 million when he's there at Royal Mail, so we wanted to include Royal Mail, the BBC and private sector companies. So we've got a low pay commission. We think something needs to be done about people being paid phenomenally high salaries, and that's what a high pay commission is going to be about.
Mervyn King's session, the Q&A session was really good. The question that I asked, I was second up, which was quite positive, because I think the further down the Q&A session you go, the less people's attention gets held. So it was quite good to be second up, and it was all really about the high bonuses in the banking sector and how the Bank of England thinks that should be controlled.
I think the real lesson for me is that we have to ensure that we don't allow the banks ever again to get into a state where they can damage the prospects for recovery. Turning to bonuses, I have enormous sympathy for the concerns that people express. I think that my experience has been, yours may be different, but my experience has been that most people in this country don't object to people earning more than they do, even a lot more, provided they understand why and can see the contribution that people have made. But when large bonuses are paid to people in organisations that only 2 years earlier were bailed out by the taxpayer, it becomes somewhat harder to understand.
Well, I was hoping to hear certainly an acknowledgement of what had gone on, which we got. I really don't think he addressed the bit about controlling the high pay by having a commission to look at it. He didn't really address that part of the question, but then I probably didn't expect that he would, to be honest, but it had to be asked.
We will be moving an emergency motion this week on the privatisation of Royal Mail. The Hooper report was announced last Friday, and Vince Cable, the Minister for Business who deals with the Post Office, immediately responded by saying that they intend to privatise Royal Mail. That is not in the best interest of our members, it's not in the best interest of the British public, and we'll be moving a motion here to get the support of the whole of Congress to ensure that we fight that privatisation plan.
President, Congress, Dave Ward, Communication Workers Union, to move emergency motion 2 on Royal Mail, which certainly to our delegation feels like the longest running emergency of all time. Congress, after defeating Labour's privatisation plans, CWU is back again today, asking for your support to defeat the coalition government's full-scale privatisation plans and the breakup of one of the last great British institutions. Congress would have seen last week the publication of the so-called independent Hooper report, which actually made the case for the government to privatise Royal Mail.
Well, it's an obvious no-brainer for anyone with any common sense would work out that trying to steal £26 billion worth of assets from a person's pension fund is an absolute nonsense. People and the British people don't want privatisation. We want a publicly owned post office that delivers a service for the public, not that delivers services just for businesses. And I'm afraid that's where privatisation will go.
I would say, everybody's got to get involved. Our members have to be on board, to fight privatisation, and then we got to take it out to the wider communities where we live. And we need to write to our MPs to make sure our MPs don't support the bills as well. And we all got a responsibility. If you work for the Royal Mail, or if you don't work for Royal Mail, we all got a responsibility to make sure the Royal Mail stays public, not private.
TUC 2010 is coming to an end in the city of Manchester. Been a great week with the CWU. Privatisation motion carried unanimously by the TUC Congress, and our High Pay Commission warmly received and supported by TUC unions. Other than that, the delegations had a strong week, and you can see all details of debates, our interventions and fringe meetings at cwu.org.